The Invisible Man, 1933, and that is the most astounding sentence I'm going to say through this whole entire review. Could we just focus on 1933?
Jesus, man.
How? Even when they explain it, they say the way they did the effects, the guy wore black velvet, and then he was shot against a black background. But, me knowing that, and you say, okay, here's a camera, here's some black velvet, I still couldn't do this. So I'm like, okay, now what? It's so amazing.
It's like early green screen.
Yeah.
It still kind of holds up too, man.
Oh, God, yeah.
Think about it. Well, think about this, guys. Like, okay, so I was relating it to like some of the bad effects, like in like the Sharknado movies and stuff like that. Dude, I would take some black velvet over that shit.
Yeah.
Like, for real.
He wore black velvet. I think we should say this before we review this. If there are people who have not watched The Invisible Man and they say, well, I'll put this on in the background while I work out anyway because I like the crew, I strongly recommend. I mean, I think you should really experience this movie for real without us telling you all the plot points and everything. So right. I think we should give our recommendations now. If it could sway one person to turn this off and go seek out the movie and then watch it, then come back and play the review, I think it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie, what out of 5 stars, what do you rate The Invisible Man, 1930?
This is a 5. This is in my top 3 of Universal films, easily. And my top 3, of course, is Creature from the Black Lagoon, like we've covered already.
And then Bride.
And
Wolfman.
Wolfman.
Damn.
You knew it. You knew it. I know you knew it. So it's
I know you know.
But in this film, the reason this film is so high up is, one, for the sheer brutality. I mean, the body count in this movie is insane. And they're not all. It's not like gory or anything like that.
Oh yes, I think it is.
Well, I mean, okay, perhaps for the time, but I mean, it's not like there's not viscera flying all over the screen or anything.
No, but compare the kills in this movie to remember how we were laughing our asses off with all these Frankenstein movies where he just clobbers people in the back of their necks?
Oh yeah.
And then that's it, and they just fall over, or the Wolfman, how he just comes up to them and always chokes them out, and they just
yeah. Like, gee, I have these claws and I have these teeth, but let me choke people.
But no, we're not putting down the movies, but I'm just trying to point out the difference in the brutality.
The Invisible Man's go-to, though, was to strangle people. But to one-up that, though, he would tell you. He's like, I will strangle you. Like, he talked about it before. That's what made it so great.
Oh, yeah, but he does more, too.
Favorite lines. One of my favorite lines from this film, and I actually looked this up so I could get it right, but one of my favorite lines from this film is where he's like, an invisible man can rule the world. Nobody will see him come. Nobody will see him go. He can hear every secret. He can rob and rape and kill.
Yeah, he did say that.
Is fucking hardcore.
Yeah, that even his sperm is invisible.
Yeah.
Nobody will see him come. Nobody.
Yeah, right. I mean, but to actually put rob, rape, and kill. I mean, this is not a lighthearted film. It does have lighthearted moments. Like, there are funny things about it.
Oh my God.
But at its heart, it's brutal.
Yeah, this is not your grandmother's Invisible Man.
He is a mean motherfucker. He really is. So I have a great deal of respect for this film for that reason. It's just, to me, it's one of the, I would say it is the most brutal of the Universal films.
Yep, absolutely.
It's hardcore. So, I mean, his intent is pure evil. I mean, he's just evil.
Right.
Like, I just want to, we'll start with
We'll start with a few murders.
We'll kill people who aren't famous just to show that we don't discriminate.
Right.
He's just
right.
mean.
Dan, what do you rate this movie, real quick, before we go on? Because it's that good that we almost can't. Yeah, we can't even contain ourselves. So, Dan, how do you? And that should have alone what we've already said should sell you. But okay, Dan, you go ahead first. Though, what do you rate this movie?
So that's what we were talking about earlier, how this is all predicated upon, like, you guys telling me about this and I'm checking them. So this is a big thing on the last one, too. And I just don't want to give people the impression that this is a bad thing, this is a negative, because for me, it's such a positive and not to speak to the movie itself, but more so to the times.
I know what you're going to say. You were laughing your ass off.
Dude, but here's the thing, though. It was so funny, dude, but I found so much enjoyment out of it that I'm not, like I said, it's not like a bad thing. It's a good thing. I enjoyed the hell out of this.
A lot of it was meant to be funny, too.
Exactly.
It was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was intentionally funny. It's not,
there was
mistake. I mean, and some things I can get you ironically laughing at. I can get it. Right. But I think most of it was probably intentional.
Exactly. Well, and I was thank God you said that, because I was going to ask you guys that at one point too. Like, guys, there was a certain point in the movie where I was like, wait a minute, this has got to be intentionally funny. Like, this is ridiculous if it's not. But I'm sorry. So basically, story, whatnot, I guess I would say 3, but then the comedy aspect and my enjoyment level, I'd say I'd up it to a 4. So not a perfect score, but very damn good, dude. Damn good. So my score 4 out of 5. How about you, Alex?
All right. This is a 5 out of 5 for me. This has always been a favorite of mine. I remember just being so struck by how good this was. My memory of this movie is in 1994, I'm going to say, is when I kind of got into the Universal Classics. And I got all the basics, Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman movies. Then I started to buy more tapes as I already collected the ones I was more familiar with and knew about and the bigger names. Then I got to the Mummy movies and stuff, and I was like, well, they're okay, I guess. Then I got Creature in Black Lagoon, and like I said, at the time, it never struck me how good that was. So I was like kind of like iffy about going further and getting more explorative with these movies. Then somehow, I don't know if I told my parents or what, but for Christmas, they got me The Invisible Man. And I remember it was under the tree. I opened it up. I was like, wow, The Invisible Man is awesome. So I remember going upstairs. I don't know what year it was, 94, 5, or 6 or whatever, but it was it was snowing. It was a white Christmas. And I remember going upstairs and putting this on. And in the beginning, it was snowing, and he's like going down that road in the snow. Yep. And I was like, wow, how amazing that I got this on Christmas, and it's like a Christmas sort of horror movie already, just from the atmosphere. From first view at 14 or 15 years old to today, this was always super strong, super badass, brutal. It's dark.
Right.
It's amazing. Like, and even getting rid of that, just the special effects, which I never let sell me on a movie completely, but oh my God, it is just amazing. Like, to me, easily 5 out of 5. This is a top 5 Universal classic.
Yep.
It's right up there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm totally blown away. All that you already shouldn't be listening to me at this moment.
Yeah, please go watch this, guys. It's worth it. Just do it. And I'm like the living proof of that. Like I said, you wouldn't catch me dead watching these movies if they weren't recommended by you guys and to do it for the show. And oh my God, I feel like I got to eat my words or eat my thoughts rather, because I never said much, but I'm just like, I don't want to do that. That's not really what I want to do. And that was a long time ago. And I've learned since then. I know better now. So I just, as soon as you tell me which ones to watch, I'm like, yep.
Jamie and I both, I'm sure, want to just thank you, because Dan, people don't know this, but Dan's a saint. I mean, all through those Universal classics, what we put Dan through, so, some of the non-good ones, like sitting through Dracula, Son of Frankenstein, and I like Ghost of Frankenstein, but I understand how people don't, and, things like that. He was right there with us, enthusiastic, gave it his all, watched it. You could tell he knew the movie and stuff. So, Dan, we just really appreciate you doing that, making that effort, and having the investment.
It's good. It's good though too, man. Because first of all, it's good to have you guys because you're there to guide me, dude. Like, and because if I didn't know, I'd just be probably watching not a lot of the shitty ones, but a lot of the not top tier ones, and I would be fumbling through blindly, and I don't know if I'd necessarily make it to the end through all the movies, dude. Yeah, so I'm super stoked too, but here's my thing too, man, and this goes back to what you were saying in the previous segment, Alex, which is this. I think people need to have their own opinions on these movies, especially people like me that's like, oh, The Invisible Man, Wolfman, like, you know these characters or whatever, but, dude, go watch the movie, like, see what it's about, live in it for a while. And I think, too, it really provides a good, I don't want to say context, but, like, it provides such a good, like,
perspective.
Perspective in terms of how things are presented even today. Like when you see those old iterations of these characters, it's from then until now. It's nice to have a base, a reference point, and it's good to have your own opinion on these movies, man. It'll shape in a good way how you how I still perceive characters. And by the way, this has the Invisible Man by far is my favorite character out of all the other movies that we did, Frankenstein, Wolfman, all that. Wow. This is my favorite one, dude.
He's very complex. It's a very complex character, and there's a lot of personality, you know, whereas there is pathos when you're dealing with Frankenstein, when you're dealing with the Wolfman. You feel for these characters because of what they're going through, and they have no control over what they're going through. Right. But with this one, he also has no control over, even though it is of his own.
Yeah, he did it.
Because of his own actions that he's going through this. He cannot control what's happening in his brain. This is not the man he set out as, this evil guy here who just wants to wreck a train and kill 120 people or whatever. This is not.
It's the Monocaine. The Monocaine.
Yeah, this is not who, this is not who he really is. And you don't. And the interesting thing the interesting thing about that is that you don't know that until you get to the end. You don't. Right. When we first meet him, he's already gone. Like when we first meet him, he is just like, rah, you know, like off the rails, and then it just continues to get worse. There is a progression of him getting worse and worse and worse, and just more volatile and more just straight up evil and more just brutal, and then at the very end, that's when you find out, fuck, this guy was a good guy.
Well, check it out. We almost co-sign his craziness in the beginning, because when he's first introduced to be a little nutty, you're like, well, yeah, that lady is kind of annoying, right? Like, what the fuck? He just got done.
O'Connor for the win, man. I love her.
Yeah. Like, he just got done telling you, bitch, don't disturb me. And you bring up mustard 2 minutes later, like, what are you, deaf? So you could understand that, but he still was nice. He's, you know, he covered his face back up. He's like, just leave it over there.
Dude, I love that scene, by the way. I thought of Paul, like nothing. Like, he just pulled it up. Like, that was like the physical reputation of nothing.
Yeah, right. Nothing. And then she says, I have your lunch here. He's like, oh, take it away.
What is it?
Your lunch?
Oh, take it away.
You don't want it cold, do you? Do you suppose that I'm going to carry trays backwards and forwards all day? Luncheon's at 1, and it's 1-0.
Get out!
I told you to leave me alone, bitch.
Yeah, but he did say leave me alone. You can't say he didn't warn her. So, and then after that, then all of a sudden you almost stop co-signing once he he throws the guy down the stairs, and you're like, holy shit, dude.
Right.
But you are nuts.
Leave that alone and get out of here! Look here, is this my house or yours? What are you doing here?
It's crazy. crazy. Yeah.
Hey, I'm glad you. So, what would you? First of all, what would you guys call that place? Like, I think of like an old time like saloon, but it's like a bar.
It's
You
a
had a
pub.
hotel.
It's
it's a
or an inn.
pub. An inn, right.
An inn, yeah. The Lion's Head Inn, I guess.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
So like that opening scene when he first comes in, okay, but when he's up in that room, and his voice alone is so good, dude. Like so good and important. So
the air. I was telling Alex how much I love Claude Rains' voice and how he just his delivery is just so. I don't know. It's like you can kind of picture it, even if you don't know what he looks like. You get a picture of who it is in your head based on his voice, and it's very stately, and he's very well spoken, and which kind of adds to the menacing a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's like it adds because it's not like some slob running around doing this. Like there's something different about, like you said, stately, like sophisticated type guy with that kind of voice. And the funny thing is. When here's a couple amazing things about this. This is Claude Rains' first talking role.
What?
Ever. Yeah, this is the first sound movie he's ever done. I mean, he's done plays. He's done plays. But this is the first movie that is sound for him.
Right.
When he was younger, but he already had kids. He had such a thick accent that he would sing like English songs or American songs or whatever, and nobody could even make out what he was saying because his accent was so thick.
Right.
And he worked through that and started pronouncing things like normal and stuff. And it's funny, we talk about how insane he is because this is the closest adaptation to the novel. Like James Whale.
Is it?
Yeah.
The H.G. Well, by the way, which was written by H.G. Wells.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know that, by the way, when I started
Jenny
watching
is
it, I'm
actually
like,
a character in the novel. Like she's not something they made up for the movie. Her character is in the novel. Now I don't think she wasn't as blah,
As annoying?
but she was there.
How do you put? I don't think you could write words that annoying to really portray that.
But it is a very close adaptation.
Oh, very close. Way closer than Frankenstein or Dracula. Way closer. In the book, there's a few differences because in the book, his name is Griffin, by the way, Jack Griffin, and in the book, he's already insane before he makes himself invisible, and in the movie, it's the monocaine, the drug that draws the color out of things that makes him slowly go into madness.
Which I like better. I do actually like that better.
Yes, something, Kemp. What is it? Bad news? It's only a rough note. A list of chemicals. And the last on the list is monocaine. Monocaine? What is monocaine? Monocaine's a terrible drug. I never heard of it. You wouldn't, Kemp. It's never used now. I didn't know it was even made. It's a drug that's made from a flower that's grown in India. It draws color from everything it touches. Years ago, they tried it for bleaching cloth. They gave it up because it destroyed the material. That doesn't sound very terrible. Yes, I know, but it does something else, Kemp. It was tried out on some poor animal, a dog, I believe. It was injected under the skin, and it turned the dog dead white, like a marble statue. Isn't that so? Yes, and it also sent it raving mad. You sure they don't think? I only pray to God that Griffin hasn't been meddling with this ghastly stuff. He'd never touch a thing with madness in it. He might not know. I found that experiment in an old German book just by chance. The English books only describe the bleaching power. They were printed before the German experiment.
Yeah, and in the novel, Griffin's like totally mysterious. He has no fiance, no friends, nothing. And in the movie, obviously, he has colleagues and coworkers. He knows, Griffin. He knows the guy, the old guy who, if anybody, I'm sure everybody knows this, is Clarence the Angel in It's a Wonderful Life. That's who that old man is.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was trying to place him the whole time. Thank you. Oh my God. Dude, that was bugging me, dude. Okay.
Yeah. And the only other thing that's really like mainly different about the novel, there's a bit of a spoiler to our own review, but whatever.
Spoilers from fucking 33.
Yeah. It just our build up to the review won't be as great, but
I know.
in the novel, Kemp lives, and here we all know how that goes. So that those are some of the main differences.
all good choices, I think.
Oh yeah.
For one, him having a fiance, him having colleagues, him, being a good guy in the beginning adds so much depth to his character, gives it so many more layers, and it makes you feel more for him, because by the time we reach the end, and the fact that he actually doesn't survive in the end helps that too. It really, it gives it an emotional
weight.
Yeah, exactly. Weight. It gives it weight, and it makes you care as the audience. And I think that's, I've said this numerous times. I think it's very important. You have to care for your characters. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what happens to them. Well, and if you as a filmmaker can't make me give a damn about these characters, then why should I give a damn about the movie? Because if what happens to them doesn't affect me, then the movie is not going to affect me, period.
And Jamie,
and so I think those are all very smart choices.
Yep.
And the ambiguity of the whole thing from the beginning to the end, even though he is a bastard, just by relating to him in terms of like how other people see him, his loved ones, this, that, and the other thing, I thought that was a great character arc for him, man. Like he was dark and mysterious, and he still was. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, you get both aspects, right?
Totally.
He comes in. You couldn't get more mysterious than even him walking like he was to the inn. Then the way he comes in, he's all on bandages, he's all mysterious, he wants to be left alone. You already got the mysterious type guy that was from the novel, and then as this progresses, and as you see his actions, you're kind of like, you don't know what to think, then all of a sudden you find out, hey, this guy has a fiance, he was in love, he has colleagues, he's a scientist, he's like a chemist or whatever. It adds a layer. So Jamie's right. Like, it's a great choice, but we also got a little taste of both things because this, we don't even know any of this until it progresses into it. So that's amazing. I mean, you just can't get better. But, there's a lot of aspects of this character that are so different and so interesting, even going back to, like, the guys who played him and all that kind of stuff, because this was supposed to be Boris Karloff's role.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, James Whale wanted him, this, that, the other thing. But Universal was screwed up back then. And when these guys got too big and famous and then went from, like, when they wanted, $800 a day, and then they wanted $1,200 a day. Once they got bigger and bigger, then they wanted $1,700 a day to work. And once they got to that point, Universal would release them and get a new crop of people for cheaper. So believe it or not, like these days, it's weird. They're dying to throw $20 million at Tom Cruise, this and that, because they know that there's some kind of like guaranteed return.
Yeah, The Mummy.
Yeah, but for these guys,
people have choices now. Back then, that you didn't have the same number of choices. If you went to see whatever was playing in the movies, and they knew that if they put a movie out, people were going to go see it, and the star power wasn't as important as it is now. I mean, because now you've got 30 different movies coming out, at the same time, and there's so much competition. You have to have that star power.
Yeah, back then, obviously they were expendable.
Yeah, I mean, it just didn't. They didn't give a fuck. It was like.
I agree with that, but to a certain extent, you still get those surprises. Look at what Get Out just did at the theaters. And
you're absolutely absolutely right. It does happen, but I mean, it's
But that is still a name, regardless. Not a huge name, but it's what is it? Is it
Jordan Peele? You mean
which one? Yeah, but it's one of those.
Yeah.
It's still a name, so to speak to your point.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that, I mean, also, subject matter is going to matter too. I mean, we all the time, we will have independent films that come out and blow the shit down, like Paranormal Activity, that just blow the doors off the place and no one saw it coming. Right. So that does happen. But, when you have an action film or something like that, it's going to cost you millions of dollars to make it,
the star.
hundreds of millions of dollars, and you have got to have a guarantee that people's butts are going to be in the seats.
Right.
So if you're making a Mission Impossible, you need a Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Because it's too much of a risk not to have a built-in audience. You just can't do it.
Exactly.
I'll be honest with you. I love Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, but when I heard he's in the Mummy thing, I feel like if they went a different route with that's the same thing with that Dracula movie, I believe.
Dracula Untold.
Exactly. Like, it's like,
I'm so scared about the Mummy. I'm so scared.
Right.
And, Johnny Depp is going to be playing the Invisible Man.
Oh, really?
Oh God! Is there anyone else that is out there that can work? What is with Johnny Depp, man? See, I'm not going to watch it just based on that. I have no interest. I am so tired of him.
You know what though? I can totally picture him doing the Claude Rains voice
Me
while
too.
he's. I can see him channeling. I can see him channeling that Claude Rains. Because you hear it. I mean, you can hear it. And I kind of feel like that's where he's going to try to go with that. So I don't know. It could be interesting. I'm honestly more nervous about The Mummy than I am about because I wanted more of a Karloff mummy and less of a Brendan Fraser.
Everybody wants less Brendan Fraser mummy.
I did enjoy that film when it came out quite a bit, but I was hoping to go back more to the horror and less of the action.
Did you see that scene that they released for The Mummy? Or the trailer? He's on a plane
the airplane scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Really? We could tell where they're going with that one.
With all these movies and stuff like that back in the day, that like I said, with this guy in particular, dude, the subtlety and everything like that, it really drew me in, the mysteriousness of it. So when you get actors like Tom Cruise and Johnny Depp or whatever, you really, and I know it's a different time, it's a different even movie universe now that they're trying to build. It's different everything. But I feel like when you use big names like that, it puts it to a whole other level to where I don't think you can achieve certain things. I think if they got just a damn good actor, I could see so many people doing the Invisible Man that could probably do a better job than Johnny Depp. Yeah. And I think it would be a better idea to go with somebody else so I don't want to say rely on.
You don't want to associate Johnny Depp with this, why not have a new great actor or something, or just somebody who's done 1/10 of the amount of movies he has? That way we could identify.
Get into it.
Yeah, and have more of a suspension of disbelief.
I'm going to be picturing him from fucking Lone Ranger, which I couldn't even, it's because he can't seem to do anything anymore without going so crazy fucking over the top and wearing a funny hat, and so it's just.
Well, we saw how crazy he went in Tusk. I'm good.
And and more recently, the same character in Yoga Hosers, which
dude,
oh my God, was so bad. It was so bad.
Do you believe I had to review that on Gary Hill's show? Remember that? Oh my God, it was so horrible.
Yeah.
I think his best performances now are caught on iPhones in his kitchen, smashing fucking wine bottles. I think that's about all he's good for.
Is that what happened?
Getting divorced.
If he could just be normal, he has talent. I wish he could just be normal. It's like Tim Burton wormed his way into his brain and fucked him up. I don't know.
I told you guys, I'm still upset about Tusk, how I always imagine that scene with him and Michael Parks, two of, some of the greatest actors, I think, and then to have it go down like that. I'm still mad about that. And that was a few years, that was 2014? That was three years ago. So I'm just, but my whole point for saying that though is, you see Johnny Depp, well, you're not going to really see him that much, I guess. But when you see him in that movie, I'm sorry, but you're completely taken out of it. Same with Tom Cruise. You're thinking, oh, this is a Tom Cruise movie. This isn't a Mummy movie, So that was my whole thing. It takes you right out of it.
It does.
Yeah.
But speaking of a real actor, just to wrap up that aspect of Claude Rains, he was one of 12 kids in the family, and he was 90% blind in one of his eyes because he was gassed in the war.
What?
Yeah, he had a whole thing, man. It's pretty crazy. It's funny, James Whale directed both these movies, and there are similarities between Frankenstein and The Invisible Man, and I don't know if you guys picked up on this. I think probably Jamie more than Dan, because she's more familiar. Jamie, did you pick up that there's a love triangle again? Kemp was interested in Flora. Just the same way that weird guy was interested in Colin Clive's future wife. Remember that? How he was comforting her way too much. That just seems to be
kind of a staple in universe. Look at the Wolfman. You have that sort of thing going on there too. I think that was just a common trope.
Right. Yeah.
He was so strange those last few days before he went. So excited and strung up. And yet he wouldn't say a word to explain. I've never seen him like it before. He was always so keen to tell me about his experiments.
He meddled in things men should leave alone.
What do you mean?
Your father's a scientist, Flora. He's discovered more about preserving food than any man living, and Jack and I were employed to help him. That's a plain, straightforward job. It's not romantic, but it saves hundreds of deaths and thousands of stomach aches.
What did you mean about things men should leave alone?
He worked in secret. He kept a lot of stuff locked in a big cupboard in his laboratory. He never opened that cupboard until he'd barred the door and drawn them blinds. Straightforward scientists have no need for barred doors and drawn blinds. He cares nothing for you, Flora.
Nobody will recognize her at all from what I'm about to say. This is going to blow minds. The girl who played Flora, her name is Gloria Stewart, and that was the fiance of Invisible Man in this movie.
Yep.
She is the old lady from Titanic.
What? What?
Can
With
you
Bill
believe
Paxton?
that?
The scene with Bill Paxton?
I think we're going to have like a 50 degrees of Bill Paxton before this month is over.
You know what's crazy about that? I had to stop the movie and look at a picture of one of my friends. Dude, one of my friends, Emily, it's literally her doppelganger. They look exactly alike. It's scary. It's so scary. Face mannerisms and everything. Like I had to stop the movie and I was taken out of it. I was like, wow, this is insane. But yeah, dude, that's crazy, dude. Wow.
Yep. Now, Skeleton Crew is famous. Jamie brought it back in the last episode, the what the F moments. Now, and I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I just think it's good to bring out what the F moments only to, in this case, only if to iron them out and maybe come up with some answers and have a few laughs. So let's get to a couple what the F moments real quick. Invisible Man at one point when he's talking to Kemp, and he says, you're going to be my partner, this and that. And he explains everything. And it's cool because it's almost like he's just obviously explaining it to the audience. So they said, you know what, let's write some really cool things about this whole invisibility aspect of the movie and talk about how one would have to deal with being invisible. Because that would be interesting for people to say, wow, I never thought about it. Yeah, you do have to do that. Yeah, you do got to do that.
But Alex, even on top of that, though, a lot of this movie is exposition, dude. It's from the cops' perspective. It's how are they going to catch him? Well, this is what's going on, audience. So this is what we got to do to catch this guy. Like that's like 40% of the movie, dude. It's so crazy.
They want to paint a picture of if this was real, what are some things you would have to encounter and or do or how to handle it. So one of the things the Invisible Man says. And you're right. They're explaining how would you catch a guy like that. So let's spell it all out. Now, Invisible Man is spelling out how do you deal with being invisible. And one thing he says is, obviously, he even points out the fact that he's naked the entire movie.
Oh my God, I know what you're gonna say.
It takes place in February, by the way. So he is freezing to be the Invisible Man. One of the things he says to Kemp when he eats, you can see the food until it digests.
That's so insane.
He's smoking, and you don't see the smoke fill his lungs and blow out and stuff. How could that be?
I think, didn't we talk about that when we were doing the Abbott and Costello? Did that come up then?
Yeah, I think so.
It's and yeah, I always think that's very funny. I'm like, well, why can't you see that then? And why can't you see food? I mean, are we always looking at him, 24 to 48 hours after he's eaten? Right. Because you should see the food during the entire digestive process, shouldn't you? I mean, if you can see the food until it's digested, then wouldn't you also see the waste before it comes out? So should there just not be a floating poo walking around?
Does the monocaine hit every single cell in his body? Like, I don't understand how far that's why this is impossible. And even if, not to ruin anything, but guys, this will never happen. Because even if this thing is real,
this is never going to happen.
He would look like a walking jellyfish, basically.
Right.
That's the funniest thing about it. Nobody's mentioning the fact that even though he's clear, we would still see the structure of the body. It doesn't matter. He would be a walking jellyfish.
I'll say this. Do they ever explain what does he drink it? Is it ever...
They eventually show something, maybe in the sequels, whatever, but they usually shoot it like heroin.
Oh, okay. So, okay, but my only I was trying to think of ways that like we could possibly refute as to why you don't see the insides as opposed to whatever is maybe like you put it on your skin, so it's like an invisibility cloak type deal, so it just covers the outside type of deal.
Yeah, but then you would see all the stuff on the inside of them still, because it would just be like a see-through body.
Not if it would work as a cloak.
A cover than a
right.
But then in that case, you wouldn't be able to see through him. Like you wouldn't.
Exactly.
He would just.
Good point.
I would be like putting on a giant tub of foundation.
Well, how about when he says, now listen, the whole point of this movie is that he can't come back. He's searching for a way back. He cannot get back to visibility. Yet he tells Kemp, sometimes I'll make you invisible when I need a rest. Like, what do you mean sometimes? So you could make him go back and forth whenever you need? Well then...
do that for yourself.
Right. And then, also, why would you want Kemp to be invisible? He could just run away and get away from you. If he's invisible, how are you going to find him?
That makes no sense then.
Yeah, like, it's just some weird stuff. And, like, the scene...
Do you think he was just talking shit? Like, to kind of show that he was powerful, that he was ready to rape people and whatever he was saying?
Yeah, I think he was just getting a little, like... he took confidence pills or something. Like he was
drunk.
He does a lot of that talking. I mean, he's very scary at times when he's talking to Kemp, and he's like, I mean, this is his friend, this is his colleague, this is someone that he trusts, and then he's just like, he threatens him, and he's like, if you try to escape out the window, I'll come after you, and you'll never get away, and it's like, God damn, dude,
And he's like, sit down. He goes, sit down. You want me to knock your brains out?
Exactly.
Like,
Sit down, you fool. Let's have a decent fire. You hear me? Sit down. Unless you want me to knock your brains out. Sit down! I want you to listen carefully, Kemp. I've been through hell today. I want food and sleep. But before we sleep, there's work to do. One day, I'll tell you everything. There's no time now. I began 5 years ago, in secret, working all night, every night, right into the dawn. 1,000 experiments, 1,000 failures. And then, at last, the great, wonderful day. But, Griffin, it's ghastly. The great, wonderful day. The last little mixture of drugs. I meant to come back just as I was when you saw me last. But the fools wouldn't let me work in peace. I had to teach them a lesson. But why? Why do it, Griffin? Just a scientific experiment at first. That's all. To do something no other man in the world had done. But there's more to it than that, Kemp. I know now. It came to me suddenly. The drugs I took seemed to light up my brain. Suddenly I realized the power I held. The power to rule. To make the world grovel at my feet. We'll soon put the world right now, Kemp. You're my partner, Kemp. We'll begin with a reign of terror. A few murders here and there. Murders of great men, murders of little men, just to show we make no distinction. We might even wreck a train or two. Just these fingers around a signalman's throat.
But I was always like, one of my WTF moments was always, why doesn't he just lock the door? I mean, like, he's invisible, but he's not going to walk through a door. So, like, when he leaves the room, just lock the fucking door and be like,
yeah, right, he can't get in.
He does lock it at one point. He's like, why did you lock the door? Remember the other guy?
Yeah. He's like, why'd you lock the door? I was afraid.
Yeah, so leave it locked. I was just like, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you don't have to. I guess what he's afraid of is if he runs away from Invisible Man, that he'll eventually find him and he won't know it and then he'll kill him. I guess that's the only thing I could think of. But he did this thing. He's doing the whole experiment. And it's basically to be known as the greatest scientist ever. People are going to have a bidding war just to get the potion he came up with and all that. Just to get the formula. Dude, do you really think killing hundreds of people and stuff like that, is that the best way to form a reputation and be a pillar of society and be one of the most renowned scientists? Do you think maybe you should leave the murdering people out of it? Do not think there's any repercussions. But then, unfortunately, you could just wave that off and say, well, dude, he's going crazy with the monocaine.
Exactly. And that's what I was gonna say. Like, is it the monocaine, or is it him as a person just being that way? You know, do you see what I'm saying? Like,
it's driving him. It is literally driving him insane.
It is. Okay.
It is.
All right.
It's changing his personality.
Hey,
you know.
yeah.
I just want to shout out to one of my favorite scenes in this movie is when he steals the bicycle.
Oh my God! Bicycle.
That shit is hilarious.
A couple drinks and a gust of wind, Jamie.
And, yeah, that's it for you.
Oh.
That shit cracked me up.
Dude.
Do you remember in Abbott and Costello when Costello turns into a mouse at the bar and he goes, you turned into a mouse. He goes, that's right. And he goes, where? At a pub. So it's so funny, like all these guys are trying to explain themselves about how this invisible man happened at a bar.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Oh, and even one time with the interview with all the people, he's just like, I think one of the cops' lines is something to the extent of like, yeah, you might want to put a little more water in it that time.
Yeah,
like water down your
more
whiskey.
next time.
Exactly. It's so good, dude. There's so many moments like that with the bike, but the bike one was, I rewound it real quick. I was like, that is fucking hilarious, dude.
Oh,
but like, I think one of the main things though is that could have easily been like, oh, that's a CGI thing. Well, not a CGI, obviously. What did you say? Cover it with the black
velvet.
Yeah, so you could chalk it up to, oh, that just looks silly. But that whole way that scene played out, dude, and then there were so many scenes after that were just so on point, like hilariously funny to me, dude. But that kicked it off. I was like, we're in a different movie now. I was like, this movie just got elevated. I love that. The bike scene.
Elevated, dude. Yeah. Remember how he was messing with people, stealing the bike, pulling hats off? Do you remember what he does?
Wait, fucking hit the barmaid, fucking hits her in the head.
No, that's hilarious. No, that's when he comes back. Do you remember when he flipped the baby's carriage with the baby in it?
That's right. Yeah.
I missed that.
Can you believe that?
What? What a dick.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is he's mean.
Fuck that guy.
He's mean.
They just threw everything out the window with that. Like once, Jason doesn't even kill kids. He just stares at them.
Right.
And it almost seemingly nobody really kills kids. This guy literally saw a woman pushing a stroller and flipped that.
I missed that, dude. I'm kind of sad I did.
Can you imagine?
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Well, and dude, even that, though, like, okay, so you can, that's, like, pretty bad, don't get me wrong, but even when he was talking about the whole, yeah, we're gonna rape Rob and fuck him, like, whatever he was saying, but he was like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and then he was like, we're gonna, talking about the train, right? Even though he was talking shit about the train, dude, when that train scene hit and he switched the tracks and the train went off the tracks, dude, I was like, my jaw fucking, my jaw hit the floor. I was like, oh my God. I was like, this guy's legit fucking an evil motherfucker. And that's what I was talking about the progression earlier. Like,
he kills 100 people in one
right?
swift
clip. Yeah.
That's insane, dude. Like that was a I wouldn't say a leap, but that was a big fucking progression for his evilness. I mean, flipping babies is one thing, but I mean, goddamn.
Yeah, I think that, it's weird. We kind of gloss over, but that's a major, like once he does that, it's almost like you can't think anything else is that crazy.
Yep.
But this movie has probably the highest body count. Literally, you could even compare him to all the 80s slashers and stuff. This is the highest body count of any monster and or killer and or whatever you want to. What do you even call this guy? Because he's not a monster. He's actually just a regular guy.
Right. That's the whole thing, though, man.
Villain.
Like,
he's a villain.
A villain, right.
He is a villain, but that's the thing. Like he's invisible, yes, but he uses fear, the fear, people's fear against them of his invisibility, and that's what I'm talking about when he said, when he explains it to people, like, no, I'm not gonna choke you. I'm just gonna talk about choking you and everybody else in this movie. Like, I shall choke you, and he's just like, I'm gonna kill you, and I'm gonna do it by choking you, like that.
Well, he tells him that what time he's gonna kill him, like
right.
The fear, the anticipation of death is worse than death itself.
Yeah, I mean, you've got this entire town of people pissing their pants because They don't know. And imagine this. I mean, it's kind of like It Follows, Like imagine that, you're sitting around. He could be here right now. He could be in this fucking room.
Right. That's crazy.
There's somebody in this fucking room. Like
Ginny.
He could be here and you don't know it. He could be anywhere. You walk into your bedroom, he could be there. You walk outside. I mean, you're afraid to walk outside. He could be standing right outside your door.
All right, you fools. You've brought it on yourselves. Everything would have come right if you'd only left me alone. You've driven me near madness with your peering through the keyholes and gaping through the curtains. And now you'll suffer for it. You're crazy to know who I am, aren't you? All right, I'll show you. I'll show you who I am and what I am. Look, he's all eaten away. Huh? How do you like that,
eh? It's terrifying. I mean, it really is. And you're living under constant paranoia. Like, they can't even talk about their plans because they don't know if he's in the room with them right then. It's fucking freaky. And then when he says things like, just my hands around the neck of a signalman is all it'll take, like just throttling to crash a train. I mean, that is beyond. I mean, that it's not just mean. It's not just evil. He's gleeful about it.
Jamie,
it's
I'm so
sickening.
glad you said that, dude. I'm so glad you said that, Jamie. So check this out.
The parts where he's doing the maniacal laughter, it takes me straight to Scrooge, where at the end of that, after he's already changed and after he's like a good person and he's all like giddy and dancing and running through the house and he's talking to the maid and he's like, oh, such a lovely woman, such a lovely woman. Oh, turkey, 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 turkey. I mean, he's just basically just that's what it reminds me of when he's just singing Nuts in May and he's being all just evil. And what makes it more menacing is that he's gleeful about it. Like, he has this level of just happiness and just glee, and that makes it that much more frightening, I think.
Oh, and thank you so much for bringing this up too, because he was my whole thing, and I actually I went back again to see if I could find more similarities in it. The scene that I got from it, and I'll be genuinely surprised if this scene was not maybe even subconsciously inspired by this. Dude, 1989's The Batman. Mirror. Jack Nicholson, dude, that it's when he's taking off those bandages and he starts laughing, it's the same thing.
Wow.
It's so good.
He takes off bandages.
Dude, it was like, oh my God. And then he starts laughing as he goes out. I was like, I don't know. It has to be inspired.
Wouldn't that be cool if he took his bandages off and his head wasn't there? He was invisible.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Mirror.
It just took the color out of his skin. Like it's the only thing that would happen here if he had Monocaine.
Right, exactly. But let me ask you guys a question, though. So do you think, okay, that's one scene, and that's one movie that I found a similarity in. But do you think that that this movie, or this look, rather, because think about how many movies and characters this has inspired. Like, there was even one scene, dude, when he took off his glasses and you could see his eye holes or whatever. It looked like Baghead Jason. And then you got things like Darkman. You got I'm trying to think of some other examples. You got so many examples of what's that? The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Even his looks very similar. Do you think it's just the simplicity of that, or do you think that it's like somewhat, if not directly,
like homage?
Yeah, because that look is iconic, dude. It's scary.
I think it's the same answer Jamie gave for why they remake these movies and all this. It's cheap.
Right.
There's something, there is something menacing about anonymity and, a covered face. It's sort of, it removes the humanity. Right. And so, I don't know if they even were thinking about this film when they were, and probably not. I mean, they were probably just, it was probably anything from budgetary reasons to, well, we got to come up with some way to hide who it is. How do we do it? Oh, let's stick a bag over his head. It's
my go-to
They
move.
probably weren't directly thinking about it, but on some level, maybe it did inspire something, because maybe they were in their mind thinking, when I was a kid and I watched The Invisible Man, that was pretty, that was pretty creepy. That you can't see his face, but you see this hollowness in the eyes,
Yeah.
And any time anybody's head was ever smashed in by a stool, they took it from this movie.
Exactly. Yeah, every time I see somebody get decked with a glass in the head, I'm like, oh.
He's a raving lunatic.
She's the original Scream Queen, man.
Yeah, right.
Oh, God. For the wrong reasons. Like, another weird choice is when the Invisible Man first walks into the lion's head inn. Right before that, the guy establishes that the other guy is really not playing the piano, and he really just puts a nickel in there and it plays automatically. How did it completely just stop playing when the guy walked in, when the Invisible Man walked in?
But
That's a good question. His nickel ran out.
Wouldn't that be funny if we heard, like, remember the jukeboxes always had the record scratch? When,
yeah, I know.
There was a guy hiding behind it, and he unplugged it from the wall.
Yeah, he's like, oh, wait, this guy's weird looking. Let me stop this music.
Yeah. By the way, that was the Reefer Madness moment I was talking about with the guy just right out the gate. I loved it.
Yeah, I was picturing the piano player from Reefer Madness unplugging the plug when I said that. With his hair, and
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Sort of a cross between him and the guy from Airplane, the giant Tylenol guy where he unplugs the runway lights. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Surely you can't be serious.
We talked earlier about one more thing about the pub when the guy accuses them of, wow, yeah, sure, Invisible Man, boy. You must have sold, this is pretty good for business, huh? Your place is known for having the Invisible Man, this and that. And he goes, do you think I would break my neck to sell a gallon of beer?
Right. Yeah, the guy who got tossed down the stairs, right?
Yeah, so, like, look at him. Why would he be making it up, you dick?
Right.
Like, he deserves to get his head smashed in.
Well, and that whole thing, though, with the cops questioning people, what can we just zone in on this cop for a second? That the second in command guy, the fucking buffoon, the
Oh, God, that hamming it up is so bad.
It's so over the top, too, that, like, I'll be honest with you. So when I said about the bike scene, I was like, that's great or whatever. I was like,
what's all this?
Right? Exactly. Exactly. And then,
Jappers. Yeah, what's all this? It's the stranger with the goggles. He's gone mad. He's assaulted Mrs. Hall and nearly killed her husband.
There was the other one who was just like, he's like, oh yeah, he's upstairs. He's like,
Like, he is hamming that shit up so bad. I'm about to serve him for Easter dinner, man. Like, it is unbelievable.
That took me a minute to get. That was good. I liked it.
Like, it's terrible, this cop with the hamming it up. But, there are a couple great choices that Whale did. Like, one of them is where Kemp's listening to the news about the Invisible Man. He's been seen. He did this. He did that. He did the other. He smashed this guy's head and he killed a cop.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, the radio turns off. And then the Invisible Man starts talking instead and fills it in.
That's great.
Oh my God. I'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This guy's in my house, right? Like, that is a jarring moment.
This is the national station broadcasting this evening's news. Remarkable story from Country Village. The police and doctors are investigating an astonishing story told this afternoon by the people of the village of Iping. It appears that a mysterious disease has broken out, infecting a large number of the inhabitants. It takes the form of a delusion that an invisible man is living among them. Several people have been seriously injured, probably through fighting among themselves and their belief that their opponent is an invisible man. The whole village is in a state of panic, and everyone
deserves the fate that's coming to them. Panic, death, things worse than death. Don't be afraid, Kemp. It's me, Griffin. Jack Griffin.
it's moments like that where you think that was one of the initial ideas that they had with this. And I'm sure that's some stuff like that's in the book, but we talked about playing on that fear of whether he's in the room or not. I feel like that had to have been one of those initial ideas that they were just like, that this whole character was based on. Like, we got to use that. And
we're just capitalizing off his ability.
And it's so effective too, man. Like, you felt that eeriness of it, dude. Like, and it's so easy to be, for me anyways, guys, like, it's so easy for me to be taken out of these movies because, you know, like, even in those beginning scenes, that Flora girl, overacting in certain instances. And
oh yeah, she wasn't a very good actress in the beginning.
Exactly. And even when, you know, even I don't want to call it overacting, but, you know, that flamboyant way of going about it. Like I said earlier, I liked his subtlety. He wasn't always subtle when he was talking about raping fucking people and stuff like that. So that's not what it's all about. But what I'm saying is, like, oh my God, like, the choices that they made in this movie to get those scares, and like I said, like, not like today's scares. They're not jump scares. They're just creepy, like, ideas that are explored. I loved it, man. I love that scene.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now the Kemp turns on him. Now, would either one of you turn on Griffin at this point? Like, would you call the cops? Would you be that ballsy?
No.
Or would you just, like, what would you do? Like, Jamie, if you were trapped in this situation where Griffin's in your house, he's invisible, you don't know if he's behind you, if he's here, there, the other thing, he has all this power, you know he's clearly crazy.
I don't know. While I was watching it, I was thinking about it. I was like, well, what if I stood by the door with a bedspread, and then when he walked in the room, I covered him with a bedspread and then tied him up, you know,
or smashed his head with a bat or something.
Oh, that's
right?
Probably easier. Oh, except I can't see him. So, you know.
No, you could. How about you just put a bucket above the door like the old thing and then fill it with paint or powder, and then just when he opens it falls on him, then hit him in the head with a bat.
I would have to hope that I had paint or powder in my room, I guess.
Right.
We all know the damage a bucket can do.
Oh, so what if you hit him in the head with a red bucket?
A red bucket.
Shut up, Home Alone 2 right there.
I was thinking, I find some way to tie him up and then I call the police.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't. I would be too afraid to do it if he wasn't contained. I don't know. I mean, that's a frightening thing because he could just take off all his clothes. I mean, he gave him a courtesy of dressing while he was talking to him at times, you know, and that was nice. But then all he has to do is take off his clothes and you don't know where the fuck he is. So I wouldn't do anything unless I had a way to contain him first and be absolutely sure that he couldn't get to me or get away.
How about when he's taking off his pants and he says the line, "I'm going to shock them all," as he's unbuttoning his pants. But yeah, you're right though, Jamie. But here's the thing. They had this exact conversation in the movie. How, like, our idea with the paint is like a million times better than that one guy who said, he said, take fucking wet cement and put it in the streets and follow the footsteps.
No, he said wet tar. And the guy goes, because he's not an idiot. Like, it was so stupid.
It's so dumb, dude. I thought that was the dumbest idea ever. I was like, who is this guy? I was like, get him out of here.
Hey, how about Dwight Fry making a cameo?
Who's that? I don't know who that is.
He was the assistant to Frankenstein.
Oh, right on.
Dr. Frankenstein in the original. He was Dracula's love slave in the original Dracula. He's a village person in all the Frankenstein sequels. He's the guy who's like, rats, thousands. Millions.
Is he the Indian or the cop?
Here he was a reporter.
No, you said that he's in the village people. Is he the Indian or the cop?
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm glad you clarified that because I was going Indian. I don't know if there's an Indian in this movie.
I don't know why I didn't say it. What are you talking
about?
Sorry. Kemp has now been, you know, he found out that he called these people. The cops, they go to surround the house. The Invisible Man escapes. All they do is hold each other's hands, walk towards the house. I guess he jumped over their hands.
Can I say something, Alex, about that? They do that inside, too. And initially, I laughed. But think about it. Dude, if we were all in a room and that was happening, like, that's kind of, like, it's old school, but, like, that makes sense, right? Like, wouldn't you do that? Like, let's hold hands and just close them.
Old school? Yeah, right? I guess. But I'd
like
flap them up
a giant
and
game
down.
of Red Rover.
Yes, oh my God. Jamie, that was one of my fucking things in my notes. God damn it, you were good.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Thank you, Kemp, for opening the window. You're a true friend, Kemp. A man to trust. I've no time now, but believe me, as surely as the moon will set and the sun will rise, I shall kill you tomorrow night. I shall kill you even if you hide in the deepest cave of the earth. At 10 o'clock tomorrow night, I shall kill you.
See, now, they're looking for a chance to catch this guy, and they got it now because he guaranteed that he's going to kill Kemp at 10 o'clock. So they figure, oh, okay, well, he's definitely going to try to do this. So Kemp thinks he's a wise ass, or the cops, whoever thought of it, and he pulls the old switcheroo. He goes into the police station, and when he's supposed to be coming out into their protection, he comes out dressed as a cop.
Yep.
So I guess Griffin's supposed to believe that Kemp's still in there, just being in the police station, being protected.
Right.
And now he gets to get into a car, and I guess he tells him, just drive away, keep driving, go, and I'll never find you.
Yep.
So how awesome is it that, after cop sprays a cat black,
dude, that scene is so fucking funny.
So funny. So as Kemp's driving, he thinks he's free. He even starts vocalizing it. Yeah, I got away. They'll never find me. Ah! All of a sudden,
10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, he wanted to murder me.
I think this will do nicely, Kemp. We'll stop here.
Guess who was sitting in the car? Now, if I was Kemp, that's how stupid he is. I would have felt around inside of the car to see if anybody was in there.
Yep.
He didn't even think of that. I mean, Griffin's just hanging out there in the nude, driving with him, and he says, "Here I am, Kemp. I told you I was going to kill you." Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, he pulled the Annie in Halloween. Just hopped right in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So, what do you guys think? Again, brutal, man. I mean, think of the deaths. Getting your head smashed in, the baby flip, the train accident, and now this, like describing even the death.
I hope your car's insured, Kemp. I'm afraid there's going to be a nasty accident in a minute. A very nasty accident.
Griffin, I'll do anything. Everything you ask me.
You will? That's fine. Just sit where you are. I'll get out and take the handbrake off and give you a little shove to help you on. You'll run gently down and through the railings. Then you'll have a big thrill for 100 yards or so till you hit a boulder. Then you'll do a somersault and probably break your arms. Then a grand finish up with a broken neck.
Oh my God. And if I was Kemp and I was sitting in that car, I'd be like, I cannot believe this is going to happen to me in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, he was like, I was standing right next to you in the police station. Now I'm going to choke you. And then he does it. Like you said, it's all about that anticipation of it.
Patient of death.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, dude. Yeah, I thought it's very creepy, man. Very, very creepy aspects to this character in this movie. Yeah.
Well, goodbye, Kemp. I always said you were a dirty little coward. You're a dirty, sneaking little rat as well. Goodbye.
And he does it, man.
He does
puts that thing and he rolls them off, and you see the whole thing. This movie pulls no punches. It's weird how, like, the censors were so weird in the 80s. I mean, since we talk about it every 10 minutes anyway, I might as well say, in Friday the 13th Part 7, I feel like that was more neutered than this movie in a way.
Right.
You know, like, you saw more kind of chaotic chaos and damage and brutality here than you did in that movie. So it's kind of weird how all this went through. You would think everybody's a bunch of pussies back then, right?
Well, dude, yeah, exactly. And how about even the scene where he picks the cop up and he's like spinning him around outside?
Yeah, and he just took his pants off.
Dude, you know what I got from that scene, which really reminded me of it, was Tina in fucking Nightmare on Elm Street, dude. Like it was very reminiscent of that scene, right? It was kind of crazy. But the best part about that too is he's like, we found his trousers in a ditch like a mile away. So like I forget what he says, but he's like, we found the cop's trousers in a ditch. I was like, what? It's like the
Invisible Man didn't use them for a shrine.
I know, right, dude? Yeah. Oh man, sorry. Go ahead, continue. Yes.
But Jamie, was your least favorite part of this movie when the guy spray painted the cat? Did that piss you the fuck off?
Well, I'm happy about it, but no. I mean, it just that kid.
You're like, hey, fucker.
Yeah, no, I do that, and Brian. If I tried to deny it, Brian would outright call me a liar. So like he would, if I said no on the show, like, no, it doesn't bother me at all, he'd be like, bullshit.
Right?
Yeah. And a dog dying wouldn't bother Dan.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what do you guys think? Is this guy worse, or the cops in the cop in this guy in this movie, or the cops in Halloween 5? Which are worse?
Halloween 5.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to put that battle up there.
Now, it all wraps up. The whole movie wraps up with the Invisible Man needs some sleep. He is tired. He finds a barn. It's empty. No one seems to be around. So he goes in, lays down in the hay, and catches a couple winks. This yokel walks in there, hears snoring or something, hears him moving around, pokes him with a stick. Luckily, it doesn't wake him up. Well, luckily for him, anyway, that he doesn't wake him up. And tells the cops he's there. The cops light it on fire. Big climactic ending. It starts filling with smoke. Invisible Man gets up. He walks out into the snow. And you can see his footprints because it's snow on the ground. That's how they can now see him and they know where to shoot the gun. Now, I hate to break this. It's a what the F moment. I hate to kind of put this in people's heads, but there's a major problem with this scene. If the Invisible Man is naked, why are the footprints that of somebody who's wearing shoes?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good, dude. Didn't even think of it. Wow.
I don't think that's ever crossed my mind either, so
dude,
that's a really good
nice catch.
But,
yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Well, and also, wouldn't you see the bullet in him, too? Like an outside object, right? Because he shot him.
Yeah, right, yeah. Well, see, they wouldn't go that far, I guess, to have a floating
Right.
bullet. But it would be cool to lay one on the ground, yeah. Because if you laid it on the ground, at least we know it's there. You know what I mean?
Or
Right.
have bleed out, but that's kind of...
Well, the blood should be invisible, I guess, because if we can't see...
Right,
if you could
right,
see
right.
through him, that means that everything inside of him is invisible, too. That's the only way to see through him.
We're talking about this again. We just can't comprehend it.
We can't comprehend, because like I said, he'd be a jellyfish. Even if all those things had no pigment or color or anything, the physicality of it would be there. So it would be like, the best way to describe what Invisible Man would look like, besides my amazing jellyfish comparison, is to say that, you remember the Predator in the original Predator? His invisible cloak, you still saw that kind of thing, because you can't just disappear.
Right.
You just can't.
And there really are those in real life, and they've been developing them for years for the military. But what it is reflective, so it reflects everything around it. So that Predator thing is more indicative of that than anything, because like you can see the outline, but it's really just like you can't see through the Predator, but what it's doing is reflecting everything around it. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
yes, yeah. So you're given the illusion of seeing, especially it would work in a place like the jungle.
The jungle, right.
where everything looks the same.
Exactly, and that's what they were going for in Predator, and they really do have those in real life. Like, and I don't know. Obviously, I haven't seen it, but like in the military, they develop stuff like that, and they did reference Predator, and I was like, that's exactly what that is. So
it is.
Yep.
He would distort anything he walked in front of, basically. The Invisible Man could never be what he is in these movies. He would distort anything that was behind him.
Totally.
So that's what I mean by the jellyfish.
Yep.
So here's the big ending. Like, he's laying in bed, the bullets hit too many vital organs or whatever, and he is not going to make it. So Flora's there. He's at the bedside. Now, Jamie... You're a girl, right? I just have to, because I said that like 20 times on the show.
Last I checked.
Yeah. And you said that as the response about 20
right.
times. If Brian, for some reason, was a chemist, and he did every single thing in this movie, think of all the deaths, 122 people, smashed heads, baby flips, trains.
Baby flips.
All the stuff he's done, roll guys off cliffs. But he was in bedside dying at the end of it all. Would you have mixed emotions? Like, what would be going through your head as you were laying and watching him die? Like,
I would be thinking, well, at least you're not the one who painted the cat. The baby, to be honest, the baby flipping thing wouldn't bother me at all. But Everyone already knows that. You know, it's just like, yeah, whatever, baby. But
But the cat now, don't fuck with the cat.
No, to be honest, I would not have mixed feelings. I would still love him because I would know that this is not him. You know, it's not his fault. He is not inherently an evil person. This is what is happening to him. I would still be in love with the Brian that I fell in love with. Nothing will ever change that.
Wow.
And I cannot imagine a scenario in which that would ever change.
Jamie is a ride or die chick, guys.
Right?
I am. And particularly in this situation, when I know that there's a reason for it, and I know that he, in the end, even though he did it to himself, he really is not culpable. So, yeah, no, I would be heartbroken and sad about the loss of the man that I loved, you know, regardless of what he had done, because it wasn't him.
And although Claude Rains on some level is in this movie throughout the whole thing, whether it be just his voice, him in bandages, he's in 95% of the movie, but you only actually see him in the final seconds.
I really like that. Really like that, by the way.
So powerful. So powerful.
Yeah, what do you think of his face? You know what he sort of looks like? He didn't look at all like he did in The Wolfman, did he?
Well, it was almost a decade previous, not quite, but almost.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
His hair was so he kind of looked like the mad scientist that has the orange guy in the Bugs Bunny cartoons. He kind of had that
Elmer
look
Fudd?
to him a little bit. Not as much as John Buscemi or whatever his name is, but sort of like that guy.
Well, for me, dude, it was always I was trying to imagine what this guy looked like the whole movie. So then when that final scene came, it was kind of cool to like think back about it, like, oh, okay, that's what he looks like.
Now, did his face fit the voice to you?
No, it didn't. But with that said, I like that. I really do. Do you see what I'm saying? Like I really liked it because in one shot, like your mind can just kind of, you know, do the math and backtrack and say, oh, okay. And you can kind of put it to that. I was thinking about even when we talked about this on the last show, when Jamie was talking about the Psycho novel and how you brought up the fact, Alex, that is a big fat guy or whatever, and how she saw him, but at the same time, it was his mannerisms as well that you know, that were
back to Anthony Perkins.
From what's his name? So it's better not having it in my head and trying to, like, you know, picture it the whole way. It was nice to just let my imagination go, because really that's what all the characters, from their perspective, that's what they're seeing. They don't know what this guy looks like, and it's scarier that way. So then when you see that final scene, it brings so much humanity to him, and he's not a monster. He's just a normal guy, and like you guys said, you know, there's sympathy for him, even though he is a bastard and he's rape, robbing, killing people, fucking throwing trains off and shit. So it's one of those things where it's very powerful last scene. I really liked it. One thing too about that scene, guys, I want to say, the music often in these movies takes me out of it because it's so over the top.
Oh, it's very bombastic.
It is. You know. So
Mr. Boombastic.
No. And so when they brought that music in, they didn't use over-the-top music like that in this movie until the very end. And I could be wrong about that, but I just remember very vividly saying, oh, wow, like they held off. And I find it somewhat cheesy listening to that kind of music, like I said, like you just said, because it's so over the top. But I found it really fitting in this, and I found it really helped, like the emotional, what word am I trying to use here?
Wait again?
Yeah, exactly. So what they were trying to for, yeah. So it's I thought it was great, man. I thought in one scene it really conveyed a lot, and it was cool to think back about the whole movie and try and picture that and all that kind of stuff. But dude, what a great movie though. Thank you guys for recommending this to me, because like I said, I'd be so blind as to like where to start, what to watch, and you guys know all this stuff, and when you naming all these names, I'm just like, who? Like I don't know.
Well, dude, how cool is it? Now you're not going to go through your life like so many people who never gave these movies a chance, don't know what we're talking about, assume they're boring. You can never say that now. You'll say, no, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I know what that is. We think I don't know what the fuck. son of Dracula is? Of course I know that. You don't think I know what, you know. So how cool is it that now you get to kind of wear that badge of honor in a way? Like, you know the foundation of horror.
And I say it all the time. I think it's important. You have to know where we come from. You need to. I think it's important anyway to attempt to be a well-rounded horror fan. You know, why wouldn't you? If you love horror as a genre, why wouldn't you be interested in seeing its beginnings? Why wouldn't you care about where it came from? That's what I love, is watching the evolution of it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for turning me on to this shit. This was top notch, dude.
Yeah.
For real.
I agree. And I just want to say one stupid thing about me is that when they do show his face at the end, I don't think it fits either. And it's weird because I know who the guy is throughout the whole movie. So the funny thing about it is that I'm so tuned into the Wolfman that every time he's talking, I vaguely picture Claude Rains from the Wolfman. So when he does materialize at the end of this, to me, it's not fitting, even though I know. It just doesn't make any sense, you know? So I'm so tuned into the one look of Claude Rains that it, oddly enough, I don't see it as a fitting looking face. He doesn't seem like that's the guy who made all those, who talks like that or sounds like that. It's funny.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So, yeah, guys, we all give this, me and Jamie give it a 5 out of 5. Dan gives it a 4 out of 5. So it didn't hit the Hall of Fame of the Skeleton Crew or anything like that, but it is damn close. It's off by 1 point. And who knows, if Dan ever gave this another shot, it might grow on him and those other things might fall by the wayside and it might go up because he'll be totally in tune with it. So we'll be right back after this. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. This is Skeleton Crew 127, Friday the 13th, video game talk, Invisible Man, badass movie.
Yep.
Thanks so much, Dan. Glad you liked it. Jamie, glad we got to relive this movie.
Absolutely, dude. Glad to be back, man. And yeah, I can't. I had so much fun on this episode, and honestly, I can't even wait till the next one. So yeah.
Yeah, me too. And I'm glad we finally got to cover this. Of course, now I think we've talked about all of at least my top 3 Universals. So that makes me happy.
We are fulfilled. All right, guys, we'll be back.